welcome to the debate. There is this really deep, almost agonizing tension building around the Los Angeles Lakers organization right now. It's something that I think defines the entire trajectory of their season. On one hand, you have this exhilarating narrative, right? The offense it's alive, it's dangerous, and it's all powered by an MVP level performance from Luka Doncic. They can score with anybody. But that high-powered offense it's masking a severe, and I'd argue a potentially fatal flaw.
And that flaw is all on the defensive end. The numbers, frankly, are damning. Through 25 games, Los Angeles is sitting at a 20th ranked defensive rating in the entire NBA. That's not just, poor for a contender. It's a structural weakness that has clearly gotten around the league.
Exactly. We know this because Marcus Smart, who is, arguably their most reliable defender, gave this brutally honest assessment. He said the scouting report is simple and it's widespread. Teams just don't believe the Lakers can guard anyone.
And that vulnerability leads us right to the central question for the front office, especially when the source material describes the trade market for defensive help as, quote, extremely limited. So what is the necessary move? Do they go for immediate, realistic defensive stability? Settle for a moderate gain just to stop the bleeding? Or do they have to reserve all their assets and gamble on a high-impact, really trajectory-shifting acquisition later on, even if it means they might suffer in the short term?
And I'll argue that immediate, moderate reinforcement isn't just an option, it is mandatory. The slippage is already too great, and the cost of waiting is, in my view, far higher than the potential benefit of some future pipe dream.
And I see it differently. While I fully acknowledge the defensive struggles are urgent, a 20th ranking is unacceptable, I believe the only responsible path forward is patience. Championship aspirations demand waiting for a true game changer, even if it brings some risk.
Okay, so let's be precise about the nature of the emergency this team is facing. That 20th ranked defensive rating, it's not just an unfavorable metric. That's basically a flashing red light screaming non-contender. Championship teams are, traditionally in the top 10 defensively. The Lakers are closer to the bottom feeders than the elite right now. In the Western Conference, where you have offenses like Denver, Houston, Oklahoma City, that level of porous defense is a fatal flaw. They just cannot afford to wait for the market to magically open up. Every defensive breakdown, every subsequent loss, it just adds this catastrophic pressure. The window for Doncic is open now. Right now. And it risks closing before they can fully maximize it if they don't stabilize the foundation. And we know internal solutions are, they're not existent, which forces the action externally. The defensive drop-off after Marcus Smart is alarming.
It's compounded by the fact that Jared Vanderbilt, who's the team's second highest rated defender, has logged only 18 total minutes in December. 18 minutes across nearly a month. This just indicates a catastrophic failure of depth and health. They don't have enough healthy, reliable defenders. And so LA has to go get a player like Sacramento's Keon Ellis, and they have to do it immediately. Ellis gives you reliable defensive effort, he shoots a serviceable 37% from three, and he provides that much-needed physical stability. It's the necessary minimum to survive this brutal Western Conference schedule.
I see the numerical urgency, and I absolutely agree that Vanderbilt's inability to stay on the court is devastating to what they want to do defensively. But prioritizing stability over maximizing potential? That feels like a strategy for a team that's aiming for a 4th or 5th seed, not a team with an MVP candidate that's chasing a title. If the goal is a championship, and we have to assume that is the only goal, a marginal move like Keon Ellis just doesn't move the needle in the way that they need. Acquiring Ellis, whose numbers, 5.3 points, 1.3 rebounds, 1.2 steals, they do not jump off the screen. It's a move for stability, not a statement. It would not dramatically change how the league views Los Angeles. The goal demands a true foundational two-way difference maker, that Herbert Jones prototype we hear about. An elite, versatile defender who can fundamentally shift the team's defensive identity and handle the best wings in the West. Sacrificing your limited draft capital, your limited assets, for someone who is just a stabilizing body, it diminishes your capacity to go get that true difference maker later, if one becomes available. We have to be patient enough to pay the premium for genuine trajectory-shifting impact, not waste assets on a minimal floor raiser.
See, I have to challenge that premise right away.
You frame patience like it's an option. But patience is a luxury they cannot afford when they're hemorrhaging defensive efficiency. Let's refocus on the scope of what they need to fix. We are not aiming for perfection today. We are aiming for survival. We are aiming for playoff positioning. The current defense is so porous that opponents are finding, quote, comfort in scoring far too easily night after night. That comfort level is psychologically damaging.
Sure, but is Ellis the guy who takes away that comfort? He's a start. You speak of the ideal Jones prototype, but the source material is explicit. That player is firmly out of reach right now. Ellis, however, is a realistic, immediate target. He shoots 37% from three, which is critical for spacing around Doncic. And crucially, he injects desperate energy on defense. He raises the defensive floor from 20th, maybe to 15th or 16th, immediately. That minimum raise is absolutely necessary to just stem the bleeding and keep them viable. If we can move Marcus Smart back into a role where he isn't tasked with guarding the opponent's best two wings every single night, because Ellis can take some of that burden, that's immediately beneficial. But raising the floor marginally doesn't address the fundamental issue, which is the competition they're facing. The source material highlights that the trade market is extremely limited for versatile 3-and-D players. So if we accept that scarcity, then we have to be surgical with our limited resources. The question isn't whether Ellis is a good role player. The question is, are you spending assets on a player who won't fundamentally alter your team's playoff outcome?
Well, you have to get to the playoffs first. Offense alone, as the material states, won't carry them through the Western Conference. Think about the real threats: Nikola Jokic, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Jamal Murray. If we use up assets on Ellis now, we are basically saying that a slight defensive bump is worth sacrificing the potential to bring in the caliber of player needed to guard those specific threats in a 7-game series. Ellis provides effort, but does he provide the positional versatility, the length, or the defensive IQ to shut down an elite scorer? I would submit that his numbers, especially the low rebounding 1.3 per game, which just indicates a lack of physical presence, suggest he does not. So we're just kicking the can down the road, but with fewer resources to do anything about it later. And this brings us to that crucial trade-off: risk, asset preservation versus defensive slippage. My primary fear here is asset mismanagement, acquiring the caliber of player we actually need, that Jones prototype. It would come at a steep price. We're talking multiple first-round picks or a combination of picks and young talent. That investment, though, it aligns with championship aspirations. If they trade for moderate help like Ellis now, maybe giving up a future protected first or some swaps, they may be unwilling or unable to pay the greater price for an elite target later. It just hamstrings their future flexibility for a negligible present gain. The real failure is sacrificing the future high-ceiling move for a low-impact fix right now.
I'm just not convinced by that line of reasoning. Your calculation of risk is focused entirely on the future asset cost, and it completely ignores the present cost of inactivity. The current risk of defensive slippage is already catastrophic. It's already fatal to their aspirations.